If you're just 10 by 10 stations, 10 by 10 is an L. We were talking about your furniture today.
Okay, I was gonna say, I am so depth perception impaired, I have no idea if that's big or small, bigger than what I have.
They said
Cut it out.
6 by 6 or 10 by 10. This table's 6.
Oh,
I do this.
so that would be bigger.
10's, this and half.
It's better than the postage stamp I'm working on.
That's what we talked about.
Mhm.
And they
Which
said
I
they
did
can
that to
fix the
myself.
electrical. Not this summer. Next summer.
All right.
We're ready to go.
All right. All right, to call the meeting to order, please. Can you do roll, please, Megan?
Yes. Collins.
Here.
White. Here. Schrader.
Here.
Hinderman. Here. Pohl.
Here.
Bowden.
Here.
Andrews.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Proof of meeting notice, Aaron?
Yep, notices are posted at both schools, sent to the village of Dickeyville and Cuba City City Hall, as well as to members of the media on Tuesday, August 18th.
Thank you.
April 18th, not August, April 18th.
Yeah, it does say April. Yep, you're
I
right.
said August.
Item 3 is consideration of the lengthy consent agenda. Are there any items? I don't think I've ever seen a longer consent agenda than this. So if everybody did not have a chance to look at all of the links that Aaron sent, feel free to ask questions before somebody makes a motion.
And the reason there's so many of them, these are all renewals of current things or replacements. So there's a lot right now. That's kind of what that
Time
is.
of year.
Yeah, it's that time of year.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I will second. Collins.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Hinderman. Yes. Pohl.
Yes.
Bowden.
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
That was quick. Administrative reports, building and grounds.
Ben couldn't make it today. He did want to share, he's working really hard at trying to find air conditioning units for the high school, knowing that we're starting earlier. The problem is every time we have orders in, we keep getting bumped for people that if we're ordering 13 units and they order 50, they get ahead of us. So that's the issue right now. We're trying to work with our construction management team to see if they can use their buying power maybe to do something a little different, but we are working on that. He wanted me to tell everybody.
Thank you. Chuck, you want to give a update on kind of where the building project thing is going or anything else?
Well, there's nothing else that I know going on. The building project's moving along pretty good. We had a meeting today for a few minutes, hours. And we gave us of what roughly it will cost, so we're within where we hope to be, and we'll find out down the road.
All right, thank you. It is coming along. It's kind of neat to see something move from a dream to obviously being a past referendum to actually having some engineers and architects put something together that looks like a building addition and remodel. And is it somewhat safe to say there's almost no area that's not getting touched to some degree, or very few areas?
Middle school is not being.
Yeah, other than
that.
I guess I should have referenced the high school.
Yeah.
Per se. You know, so I think, does anyone have any questions regarding that project or where it's going, or so that you all know?
I'll send kind of a more detailed update here shortly, but each month Brea is going to do an update and put it on or send that to us, and Tina's great about when I send those, she puts them in our referendum updates tab on our website. There won't be one this month because we didn't meet during spring when we had spring break, so there'll be one next month. But I think there will be a lot of updates for the next one. So we'll keep doing that. The goal is each month to provide something else and push that out or at least have it available on our webpage.
All right, thank you.
Is there anything done for the public to let them know that information is on the webpage?
We haven't pushed it out on social, have we?
I don't think
That
so.
could be something that we do though.
Yeah.
Like, hey, check this link out
I can do
for
that.
updates. Okay.
Yeah.
What about the paper? I mean, not that everybody gets it or sees it, but
Yeah, I can check with Dan and see if he wanted to do some regular.
I mean, just to, because I've been asked, I suppose others have, about, so when's it gonna start or what's happening?
I do try to put a little of
The
progress
parent
in my
message.
parent letter as well.
Thank you. Special ed, Deb's not
There's
here.
nothing tonight.
Does she have, there's nothing?
No.
Okay. Middle and high school report, Chris.
Yeah, middle school is working on completing their forward exam testing this week. Ms. Tiedemann, Ms. Nelson, Ms. McClellan were all able to or are planning STEM field trips for various middle school groups. Ms. Tiedemann, Ms. McClellan's trips were to UW Platteville. Ms. Nelson took her group to tour John Deere in Dubuque. Our forensics team was actually just presented this afternoon, and then they'll be doing another one this Friday in preparation for the state competition that's happening this week in DeForest. The High School Student Council hosted a successful blood drive on Wednesday, April 12th, and I'd like to thank all the students who helped and to everyone who donated. Mr. Graber took several students up to the Grant County Courthouse for Government Day. Students were able to see our local government at work. Congratulations goes out to our Special Olympians. They were able to compete in a state tournament in basketball last weekend. We had a wonderful send-off where all of the staff and students lined the hallways and cheered them out to their bus to go there. And they came back with third place in their state. So several middle school and high school students competed in the SWAL math competition. It was held last Friday, April 14th at Southwestern. FFA has been treating everyone this week to Sundays. If you feel that you need a sweet treat, they'll still be selling tomorrow and Friday during 3rd and 9th hours. Our bands and choir students are preparing for state solo ensemble, which will be taking place on April 29th. And baseball, softball, and golf are all in full swing, pun fully intended, as well as track and field for both high school and middle school. And in true Wisconsin fashion, we've begun to postpone and reschedule with all of the unpredictable weather. And that's all I've got for now.
So we can blame you for the snow and the hail
You
and
bet.
whatever else? Thank you, Chris. Is there any questions? Troy, elementary, please.
We had our Donuts for Dad breakfast event, was a huge success. In fact, it was standing room only for a bit as we served 131 adults and 227 students that day. I have to thank the food service and Jesse Dinar for all their help in that event. We had 6 elementary students travel to Southwest Technical College to participate in the Lit Wars. Students had to read books above and beyond their school books, and then they competed in different challenges. Our group earned a team award, and then 2 students placed in 2nd place for individual book contests. Participants were Zoe Lane, Kennedy Clendenin, Ella Dixon, Judah Herr, Carter Clendenin, and Sean Alexander. We had several 5th grade band students participate in the first year honor band held at Basketball High School on April 15th. It was beginning band students from around the area. Congratulations on a great performance. Jackson File, Xander File, Micah Yochis, Percy Burning, Chloe Sokichoff, Macy Mockler, and Tyson Timmerman participated for Cuba City. Today we had the Platteville Children's Choir come in and do a performance for us. And it's directed by our very own Mrs. Katie Odette. It was a great experience. It allowed our kids to have one of those learning experiences in the fine arts. And we actually had 2 students, Ella Dixon and Claire Holmes, who participated in that group as well. So that was neat for our kids to see. A big thank you to Mound City Bank for taking the time to present the importance of banking and saving money with our students. Another great community outreach that allowed us to kind of have some, financial professionals come in and talk to our students. And the students walked away with a nice little backpack. Our 5th grade students participated in a team building night. They're hosted each month to work on building relationships. Ms. Hook and Ms. Olson and student council present those. And then our last area is we recently opened a Zen Zone. It's called the Zen Zone in the elementary school. It's developed to support students who are having a tough time or a day. The Zen Zone allows students to go to this area for a break. And then when they calm down, we teach them techniques to kind of help them for future situations that may arise. Things that happen throughout the day that may frustrate our students. And a big thank you to Mrs. Casper, Mrs. Redfern, and Mrs. Hook for all their help in doing that. And the goal is to pilot that the 4th quarter and then use that information to kind of make some changes for next year moving forward.
So it's limited to adults like me can't come if I'm.
I walked in there a couple days ago and said, I need some assistance, and they just looked at me, and so maybe in the future.
All right, thank you, Troy.
You're welcome.
Heather, business.
So an update on the 22-23 budget. At the end of the March, we were 75% through the fiscal year. We've spent about 56% of our Fund 10 budget, which I'm happy to continually report that is in line with where we were at last year. An update on our Fund 49 or our referendum checking account. During the month of March, we had revenues totaling $114,536.39. Our expenses were $114,467, giving us a balance at the end of March of $10,275.41. The department budgets for the 22-24 fiscal year have been turned in, reviewed, and I've entered them into our financial software. And then I'm just continuing to work on all the other various line items within our budget. Keep in mind that sometime in May, Aaron and I will present to the Budget and Finance Committee the first draft of the 23-24 budget. And then in other news, the district was selected to go through a membership audit. And I'm happy to report that there were not any errors or exceptions identified. And this membership audit would not be successful without the knowledge and thoroughness from Pam and Jessica and Jesse throughout the school year. So I want to thank them for all their hard work in ensuring that we're counting our students accurately. And that's all I have.
Any questions? Aaron?
All right, a couple different things. We're hopefully near the end of weather-related issues. Just kind of an end of the year recap. We did have 5 virtual days. We did have early dismissal and a late start. And based on all that, we still have, I believe, 9/10 of a day left. We usually build in about 2 days. So like this Monday was a 2-hour delay. Had that been a canceled day of school, we wouldn't have had virtual because it was Monday. We didn't send kids home with things, but we had enough minutes in the day that we could have had a snow day on that day, and that would have been a traditional snow day. So again, when we see it coming and we can prepare our staff and students, then we go virtual. If it's not foreseen, then that would be a virtual. A lot of schools are scrambling, adding minutes to the day or adding days to the calendar, and because we use virtual and we build in a little buffer, not a big one, we don't have to worry about that. All we look at is safety for the kids. A lot of us have gotten questions about the land purchase. So I put together kind of the common questions. So I just decided to do that in my board report. So I know, so you guys probably know the history of this, but for those people who are watching online, and I'll send this to Dan at Tri-County Press too. I have some background. So recently a parcel of land adjacent to Cuba City School District came up for sale right off of Highway H, 44.71 acres. And the Cuba City School Board discussed the possibility of purchasing this land at the January meeting, where they advised me to look into the cost and structure and the tax impact for constituents. As of a few days ago, we've made an offer to purchase that land that has been accepted. However, there are still contingencies that we'll talk about later on here. For those community members who have attended our previous board meetings where we've discussed or acted on this or watched online, they've heard some of the conversation, but many people have not. We want to make sure that people have this information. So I'd like to take some time to answer some 4 commonly asked questions. So one is, why are we considering purchasing that land? Really good question. The answer is a short one. We feel this land acquisition allows for future success of our school district. We have no immediate plans for the land, and nothing in the November 2022 referendum utilizes that land at all. They're totally separate. Currently, the district campus is landlocked in all 4 directions, and purchasing this land would allow for needs that come up in the future, and probably needs that many of us will not be involved in. Like it might be 15 or 20 years down the road. Question 2, our community members are likely wondering what we have in mind for that land, and that's a reasonable question too. At this point in time, I believe our entire board along with myself, can tell residents the only thing we have in mind for that land right now is to continue renting it. We have no immediate plans for that land, but part of our collective job is to look out for both the short-term and the long-term needs of the district. And this is a long-term project, as we've discussed. Question 3, how might we utilize this land in the future? And while I can tell you that I think it's got a lot of possibility in that land as it more than doubles our existing campus footprint, we honestly can't tell people right now exactly how we're going to plan on using it because we don't know what the district needs will be down the road. I would assume this land would be developed or would not be developed until our 2017 and or 2022 referendum is paid off, which would be 2037, 2042. When I say those out loud, I kind of chuckle because it's just, that's a long way down the road, but it'll come. With this in mind, I see a brand new elementary school with an expansive age appropriate playground and plenty of parent friendly parking there. And I think there's a lot of room for that. But again, that would be once the 2022 referendum would be paid off. It could be the next location of the district bus garage or FFA patch of land where they're walking right out of the classroom and going and working in the field. Outdoor athletic fields, if that's something that we wanted to expand on or add on campus. Right now, these are just possible ideas. I believe the exact use will be determined by a future superintendent, not me, and school boards probably in 15 or 20 years. Question 4, another important one, how can the school district afford this? So there are 2 ways a school can fund this purchase. The first option is the most common one. So any public school board can borrow up to $1 million to fund any project without ever having a special meeting of the electors if they choose. And some schools in our area have done that. Although it's that is always an option, what we are hoping to do is something that is brand new newly approved by the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. So for the last 5 years, the district has been putting money in what we call a Fund 46 account. Before Fund 46 was actually a tool, which was about 7 or 8 years ago, schools were punished for not spending their full budget. So like the term, if you don't spend it, you lose it, was true. This tool allows us to be fiscally responsible, and that each year, if we have a long-term plan in mind, that you can use unspent dollars and not lose that in the following year, but put that in Fund 46. So our district has over $400,000 in our Fund 46 account, and the Wisconsin DPI recently allowed us to use that for the first time ever for land acquisition, as they believe that's a capital purchase, even though it's not a capital expenditure or capital project or improvement. However, because we are using existing dollars, if we do use our Fund 46 dollars, that's using existing funds. So then we would have to have a special meeting of the electors to see if the community would allow us to use the Fund 46 dollars. So we will have that. We've sent out bids to all 4 local banks. We've received 3 back for utilizing this type of loan. And we estimate the 10-year repayment plan would be just under $50,000 a year, looking at all 3 of the bids. Some of that would be recouped by renting that land for $12,000 to $13,000 a year. The rest has to come out of our annual budget. So with a referendum, we would say, okay, this referendum, if passed, it's going to increase the mill rate by 28 cents. That's not how this works. We have to find money within our existing budget when we do something like this. So it doesn't have a direct impact on taxes for our constituents. So the Cuba City District will be moving forward with a special meeting of electors. We'll have that on Wednesday, May 17th. We'll have that in the gym here, the middle school, high school gym at 6 o'clock. Like the majority of our school board meetings, it's open to the public. I encourage anyone interested in learning more about this, and we'll have a lot more specifics at that time. Feel free to attend. So that's my report.
All right, thank you. Questions of Aaron?
Aaron, I have a question. So Fund 46, you mentioned over the last 6 or 7 or 7.
We've had it for 4 years and 10 months.
So obviously a lot of work has gone into it over the last 4 years to create that balance. Do you foresee, and I don't know how all of that was done, but do you foresee like that's kind of like an emergency or a rainy day or whatever you want to call it fund? Like
For capital projects,
something that we could
The bulk of that, I'll tell you, more than 50% of that is during COVID when we just didn't have anybody here. We didn't have the expenses. That's where most of it came. So our goal was to try to put like 40 or 50,000 in there per year. And after 5 years, have 250. COVID really just allowed us to put a bigger chunk in there.
But would you anticipate being able to do something similar outside of COVID, like going forward, I guess, just to build that up?
It would be a small build, you know,
Sure.
we'd probably continue that same project. Or that mindset of like, hey, we want to put a little bit in there each year. But again, a lot of the things that we talked about, and we ran through this with buildings and grounds, when we updated our 10-year plan, we're like, man, a lot of the things that we were targeting our Fund $46 for are going to be covered in the referendum.
Mhm.
But
Thank you.
I mean, even today, we talked about the fact that, you know, air conditioning didn't make the top 11 projects, but we're talking about can incorporate the current HVA system. As we either look at replacing or upgrading, can we, in essence, achieve air conditioning part of the building that we originally, you know, didn't think we could do? And the architect and engineers are going back to look at, you know, is that going to be possible within the referendum?
a big thank you to Brad at Epic, who, you know, built that building in Lancaster, came in well under budget. He's working hard to make sure that we have competitive pricing and taking care and being a good fiscal agent for every dollar that we have allocated by our community. So it was a good meeting today, and we can tell he's working hard at that.
Any other questions?
I had asked Aaron earlier about if we do acquire this land, if he would be in the touch with the city. The city would have the ground to the south of that we would have access on that south end.
I've not gotten a response back from that one yet. So
When they plan their streets, it would be nice that they would plan for us to have access to that south end.
Anything else? Alrighty, thank you, Aaron. Public recognition, none, right?
nobody-
Okay.
Jesse didn't sign it.
All right, item 6 is discussion on the mascot.
Yeah, so Coach Lawson and I have been working on kind of the criteria and the timeline, which I had sent you guys. So the criteria, basically, we're gonna have kind of a 2-week window for students, and we'll have a 2 or 3 week window for students and anybody really in the community, any local businesses or any parents or anything. If they want one, we want to be able to ensure that they have the ability to submit one. So we thought, well, what does that submission look like? We have to have some criteria for that. So we came up with the mascot, and these are for discussion. So if you wanted to change anything, this is our first draft here. The mascot will preferably use the nickname Cuban somewhere and may not use more than 3 words. So it could be the Cuban Coyotes, for example. That's just a C. But we wouldn't want it to have 3 words for that. So preferably 2. The mascot must, so the first one was preferably. So if it's a really good one and it's something a little different, we'll consider it, but we would prefer to keep Cuban in there. As we talked about, if we keep Cuban in there somewhere, we don't have to rebrand everything. The mascot must continue to use gold and black as primary colors, but may use white and gray as supplementary colors. All submissions will include a written narrative of at least 100 words, no more than 200 words, on why this mascot nickname best fits the ideals, morals, values of the Cuba City School District. The mascot nickname will be submitted with a drawing for consideration, knowing that if selected, a graphic artist will be used. We won't be using that person's sketch. Any questions or proposed changes to that criteria? I think that met what we had talked about last time.
I'm not a fan of keeping Cuban in there. If we're gonna change a mascot and think that we don't want to use Cubans, then why limit that?
When I had originally brought up the issue of consistency, in my mind, it was the Cuba City Hornets, or like keeping some consistency within it, so we're not changing out every jersey at the same time. And I don't know them intimately enough to know if they all
I
say
think
Cubans
most of them
on
say
them,
Cuba
but I think they say
City,
Cuba
but
City.
I think some say Cubans.
So you know,
That's why I
if
put
it's Cuba City
preferably.
Blank, yeah.
Preferably, they can submit something
Mhm.
different, but if you want me to change that wording, we can. We could put the mascot may use the nickname Cuban if they want to.
I guess I would go back maybe a step to determine how is what we select, by what process? Meaning, is it gonna be open to people from the community and school, or, who's gonna?
It's ultimately gonna be you guys, but we do have on here that the month before you guys vote, we're gonna do a student survey, we'll do a staff survey, we're gonna do a social media poll. All so you can look at it and say, okay, this is about what our community is feeling one way or the other. So you guys will have that information.
Okay, I was just curious because I guess I've heard it both ways. Get rid of the Cuban, and I was told yesterday, in no uncertain terms, whoever's idea it is to get rid of Cubans, they should chop their head off.
There's strong feelings both ways, for sure.
So,
Send a lot of t-shirts.
and so I'm not sure that I have an opinion. I mean, I understand and can appreciate that, Cuban isn't really, other than maybe derived from the word Cuba. But, even when I was in business, I'd call and order something and they'd say, Cuba City, where? They'd hear Cuba, but they would never hear city.
Mhm.
And it was like, so, I mean, at this point, I just, probably wanted to know if we could get the input, I guess, of the people who, feel one way or the other. And I know that, it's going to be something that I know we're going to use in terms of not only the branding for the school and the signage and stuff that's going up that we talked about today for the building project, but then all future uniforms or jerseys or apparel that, Booster Club or whomever will sell. So
What if we just said the mascot can use the nickname Cuban somewhere? Then we're picking the best overall. I mean, then people know that they can use that but they don't have to. And then we just pick the best available. Are you comfortable with that?
I'm comfortable with it, but I mean, I'd like all submissions. I mean, I don't, just going on the next one, I don't like the written narrative either. I mean, maybe there's a third grader out there we just need a name. Do we really need to describe why? I think you're gonna limit
Yeah.
people submitting things. They only gotta write 100, not that 100 words is a ton, but why, really? I really think if it comes to the board, we're gonna look at the 2-word name or the single word name or whatever and pick the one we want best. We're not gonna read he wrote the best description of why it fits.
That one came from universities that generally do this. That's something that they do. And obviously we're at 100 and 200. I changed that, but they said that also reduces the funny submissions that you get. But if
You
that's
will
something
get higher quality submissions if you create a slightly higher barrier to entry. But to your point, we're a K-12 institution. If there is a third grader who 100 words seems daunting, maybe the question is simply, why do you think this is a great option?
I like that idea.
Why do you want
Tell
this
us why.
mascot?
It could be
5 words.
So
or-
just-
It could be because I think it's cool.
just say
You
all
know?
submissions will include a written narrative on why, and just take out that phrase.
Just please explain why you think this, why you
Okay.
want this to be our next mascot. Maybe we get a novel and that's on us.
But Aaron, I think the wording is important too, like maybe don't call it a narrative, just ask the question like, why do you think this is a good,
Written explanation.
yeah. Narrative sounds long to me.
Mhm.
Got it.
Again,
more college-like than
College.
elementary.
college process.
Okay, so we've got the mascot can use the nickname Cuban somewhere and may not use more than 3 words. And then we have all submissions will include a written explanation on why this mascot nickname best fit the ideals, morals, and values of the Cuba City School District.
And I guess I might even ask, is it a is it more of a nickname versus a mascot, meaning, or is it the fact that we're actually going for a mascot? Because I had somebody say, nobody uses a mascot anymore.
Yeah, we see a lot of schools. We go to a
I mean,
lot of
I'm just-
schools that have like the big, like I think Minter Point has the big pointer dog, and I think a lot of schools have
Yeah, one, there's a wildcat
they
down
have a
there.
wildcat down there. I think more schools do than don't.
Fenmore's got an eagle, don't they?
I think even if we don't have like a dress up costume, like the nickname should represent something you could,
Right.
like something tangible, right?
I think our student section would love to have somebody be the mascot during this. I think they would
I
love
think we
that.
have a lot of good students that would be good mascots.
That's why we can't be the Cubans.
Anything else then on this? Any more input?
That's the criteria, and then the timeline is below, and that's just kind of when we're gonna do something. Megan had a really great idea that she sent me. Instead of having it Wednesday, September 20th, why don't we, if we're able to have the decision made the Wednesday maybe before homecoming, then we can have that be a big reveal at homecoming. And try to, that's when a lot of people come back. That, I thought that was a
It
really
seems
good
like a
idea.
natural time that people would be re-engaging with the
We can
school.
put an insert in for the football rosters and
You could probably get a lot of the kids to buy in on that in terms of
Booster
having that
club
reveal.
and some stuff.
Yeah.
They just- I told you. I'd been through.
all right.
All right, thank you, everybody. New business, A is approve the date and time of the May regular board meeting is the 17th at 6:30, okay?
I would ask that we go at 7 that night, just because that's the night we're gonna have the special meeting of the electors at 6. And then Eileen Brownlee is coming at 6:30 for our every other year on boardsmanship. And then that would allow for us to have a meeting at 7 o'clock,
Okay.
if that works.
Does that work, board?
That's for me.
All right, would someone move?
I'll move to approve the May regular board meeting for Wednesday, May 17th at 7 PM.
I'll second.
Collins.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Pohl.
Yes.
Bowden.
Yes,
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item B is approve a one-year MOU allowing staff to have an additional personal day to early start in 23-24.
And we knew this would happen, that when we moved the calendar back, know that teachers are planners. A lot of people already had plans that time. And the few teachers I've talked to, they've said, I guess I'll just take one unpaid day because we're gonna be gone that week. And so I really think allowing this for all staff members, we used to have 4, this would just be for a 1 year because we did change the date and a lot of them had plans. I think it's a nice thing to do for the teachers, and I think that we can handle that for a year.
Any questions? Would someone move?
I'll move to approve the 1-year MOU allowing staff to have an additional personal day due to early start in 23-24.
Sorry.
Collins.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Pohl.
Yes.
Bowden.
yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item C is approve the purchase of an additional school district van from Pioneer Ford in Platteville.
Last month, we asked for permission to get 1 van. We're gonna try to get 2. We do have 2 that are a little high maintenance. And the reason we wanted to do that too is we did carry the $200,000 operating referendum. And that is primarily for buildings and ground issues with the new building. We do not have the building. So we were trying to think, what can we purchase for that $200,000 that won't get absorbed in other areas? So we want to try to keep it in that area so it doesn't go to other areas of our budget. So having 2 vans, we've been contemplating getting a van for probably the last 3 years. So we think this will be very helpful. And we did get a bid from Pioneer Ford that was about $4,000 under, actually it was more than that. Well, it was $8,000 under what we had budgeted for.
And these are passenger vans.
10-person passenger vans. Yep.
Any other questions?
I'll move to approve the purchase of additional CCSD van.
Is there a second?
I will second. Collins.
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Pohl,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item D is approved the Neola policy updates, volume 2, number 1. They were approved unanimously by the policy committee, so if someone from that committee want to make the motion, please.
I will move to approve Neola policy updates volume 2, number 1 as presented.
Second.
Collins,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Pohl,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item E is approve the overnight international trip to Spain for the high school students in July of 24.
We don't have like the exact dates yet or the itinerary. They've got to start planning it, so it's not this July, it'll be next July, but it does take that long to plan, so they wanted to make sure they got permission first. I think it's a great opportunity that we provide our students.
I saw last night in the news that they better put in for their passports soon. I will move to approve the overnight international trip to Spain for high school students in July of 24 as presented.
I'll second.
Collins.
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Pohl, Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item F is approve the timeline for the mascot development as previously discussed. If there's no other questions, would someone move?
So you're saying the end date would be that week before homecoming though?
I think that makes sense. Our architects would like us, our designers would like us to get it done yesterday.
I would move to approve the timeline for mascot development as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Collins.
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Pohl,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item G is approve the high school athletic director permission to schedule and participate against non-WIA opponents as necessary.
We do have a school coming to our track meet at Tri-State Christian, and Carrie found out, hey, since they're not WI affiliated, we actually have to give board permission to do that. So this would just allow her, whenever that comes up, to make that decision on her own, instead of coming in every time.
Would someone move?
I'll move to approve the CCHSAD permission to schedule and participate against non-WIAA opponents as presented.
Is there a second?
Collins.
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Pohl,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item H is approve permission of the superintendent to allow Wednesday athletic contests when necessary.
Yeah, we've done this in the past where we come and just say, hey, the next 3 weeks, we might need this. Today was a good example. We probably could have had a game today and not sure if tomorrow's weather is going to be good. So this is just allowing me from here on out to say, yep, we can have that game on a Wednesday, knowing that we don't want to do that very often. We only do that when weather-related issues come up. And you guys have allowed us to do that before, but it's only when necessary, not going to be a regular thing.
Someone move?
I'll move to approve the superintendent to allow Wednesday athletic contests when necessary.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Collins.
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Pohl,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Under item B, personnel is A is approve the hiring of Ben Sincock as a paraprofessional.
He's been working and doing a great job so far.
Would someone move?
I'll move to approve the hiring of Mr. Ben Sincock as a paraprofessional as presented.
I'll second it.
Collins. White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Pohl,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And approve the hiring of Samantha Hilshine as the new middle school special ed teacher beginning in 23-24.
So that's for next year. So we had interviews and I think that she's going to do a wonderful job.
So if there's no questions, would somebody make that motion?
I'll move to approve the hiring of Samantha Hillesheim as new middle school special education teacher for 23-24 school year as presented.
For a second?
I'll second.
Collins.
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Pohl,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item C is approve Marissa Eisner as the middle school track volunteer coach.
Yep, just another parent who's looking to volunteer, and we love when they do that.
All right. I will move to approve Miss Marissa Eisner as the middle school volunteer track coach as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Collins.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Hinterman, yes. Poll.
Yes.
Bowden.
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item D is approve the resolution authorizing contract renewals and issuance of notices and letters of intent.
And it's letters of intent because our teachers are certified, and we do not expect the compensation to be approved by May 15th. We wanted to do this at a time. This just says, yep, you will have a position waiting for you with no less than you're making this year, because we don't have the exact, in order to issue a contract, it would have to have that number on there. So this is just saying, yes, you've got a spot waiting. We've got to do that by May 15th each year.
Are there any questions for? Would someone move?
I'll move to approve the resolution authorizing contract renewals and issuance of notices and letters of intent as presented.
Second?
I'll second.
Collins.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Hinterman, yes. Poll.
Yes.
Bowden.
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Committee reports, budget and finance. Is there any?
We'll meet in May.
Okay.
For our first one.
Building and grounds, I think we kind of covered everything, right, Chuck?
Yeah,
So you-
I would say so.
I have a question about budget and finance, and so that'll be after the reorganization?
Yes. Yeah. It'll probably be late May, early June, I think is what the calendar says. May's really hard to find time. Everybody seems like they're really booked on Wednesdays of June or in May. So sometimes June's easier to schedule.
Okay. I don't think there was anything under building and grounds then. Personnel, looks like we'll meet in the next couple months. Policy, we met in March and those Neola policies tonight. Is there anything else?
Nope.
Tech and transportation, Dan?
No, nothing new. We met in February.
Yep, we have to sign, we'll sign the contract. So Megan and Gary, you guys have to stay and sign.
I do have a question about that. Has Davis been in touch with the current bus drivers as of yet?
Yes.
Or what is what they
I
have?
met with them.
I talked to one of the bus drivers who drove us to the softball game and I learned a lot of the inside scoop, so.
Okay. All good, I hope.
Yep, sounds like it.
Their
Sounds like
communication
it,
has
yep.
been good thus far.
Yep.
The little I've had with them, yes.
I learned that he has a building supposedly for a 5-year lease, option to buy in Cuba.
Good.
So it sounds like he might have bus drivers and all that stuff, so Troy doesn't have to drive one.
That would be dangerous.
Foundation, you met back in February, so I'm sure there's probably nothing new. I don't really have anything from CISA 3.
Before we adjourn, I'd just like to thank Board Member Collins for 3 years of service. The last 3 years have not been easy for board members. And we had a couple of new people come in during that time, and it was a very challenging time. And all of our board members do a wonderful job. And Brad, I'd just like to thank you for your support of the school district and the students of Cuba City School District. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Brad.
Hey, Brad.
I will make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I will second. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
All right, if Gary and Megan can stay, you guys to sign.
Okay, so then this is